This is the Barbados Today morning news for Monday, February 20th. Thank you for joining us. I am Mary-Claire Williams. Former Attorney General Dale Marshall is pointing to what he calls an apparent disconnect between Finance Minister Chris Sinckler and Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite in the ongoing impasse between Sinckler and the Central Bank Governor Dr. Delisle Worrell. Last week, it emerged that Sinckler reportedly met with Dr. Worrell on February 9 and gave him the option of resigning by February 13 or be fired. But Worrell filed an injunction in the High Court through his attorneys, barring Sinckler from firing him. And on Friday, the court granted a second injunction, allowing Dr. Worrell to stay on the job for at least 6 more days.
I think it is scandalous, and it demonstrates to me that we have a cabinet government that doesn't understand the roles of various individuals. The first 2 people who are sworn in any administration are the Prime Minister and an Attorney General. I cannot for the life of me see how a Minister of Finance could find himself in a position where an important decision like this is clearly not discussed with the Attorney General in terms of providing guidance as to how it should be approached and what are the possible pitfalls. But the Barbadians now have to suffer as a result of obviously an intellectual disconnect between the Attorney General and the Minister of Finance. We ought not to be in this place. Prime Minister Owen Arthur dismissed a former governor of the central bank. There was no brouhaha, the courts weren't called in, precisely because the Prime Minister on that occasion, before he acted, consulted with the individuals with whom he had to consult and made sure that whatever he did was done in accordance with the law.
Marshall says the public spat between the minister and his chief fiscal advisor could not have come at a worse time for the country.
Our foreign reserves are dropping, and I'm not an economist, but I think that it is public knowledge that the foreign exchange take for tourism in December was much lower than expected, and January again much lower than expected. We're now in February, so at a time when our currency is facing its greatest threat, what is playing out in the lower courts of Barbados are the 2 individuals whose job it is to safeguard our currency and to ensure that there's no devaluation. And that is what Barbados has come to.
Acting Prime Minister Richard Seeley says there is no need to worry about the financial future of Barbados as it is moving in the right direction. Addressing the opening of the Apes Hill Country Club, Seeley said the St. James development is just one example of increased investor confidence.
I do not share the view that we have anything to be pessimistic about. Levels of confidence are up. Investment, indeed, in projects like this are up. Our arrivals are up. The airlift capacity is up. All of the indicators are suggesting that we are in a very positive place. And it is in that context that I happily come here to see a tangible example of exactly what we are speaking about when we speak to Barbados going in the right direction.
CARICOM member states have until March 31st to submit comments on the review of various regimes of the CARICOM single market and economy. The review shows the status of implementation for each country of measures intended to bring the CSME into effect. Prime Minister Frundle Stewart told GIS that the CARICOM Secretariat had undertaken the review under his oversight as lead head for the CSME as directed at their conference last July. Speaking at the end of the Leaders Intersessional Summit in Guyana, Stewart said despite various challenges, there is still much enthusiasm for the regional integration movement and high interest in the goal of a CSME. Regional leaders will review the progress at their annual conference in July in Grenada. One Anglican bishop is calling for a return to traditional values, especially the practice of community togetherness. Bishop James Tenga of Malawi made the plea yesterday at the annual Diocese of Barbados church service held at Kensington Oval.
The idea that somebody else's child is your child does not work anymore. I take care of mine, and mine alone is the operating mode. Stumbling blocks and all sorts of hurdles are put in our way Justice only works for the privileged. Generosity is only identified with Father Christmas. Holiness is just pious spiritual activities. The faithful poor turn to the churches for comfort and coping, only to be duped and have their savings and life's earnings swindled by unscrupulous pastors.
In sports, Barbados Pride captain Jason Holder is praising his team's performance throughout the regional Super 50 tournament. Pride lifted the Clive Lloyd Trophy on Saturday night at Coolidge Cricket Ground in Antigua after scoring a 59-run victory over their rivals Jamaica Scorpions. Holder says his players gave their best throughout the entire competition.
I thought the guys were very consistent all tournament long. You know, we put in the performance needed to win this finals. You know, and I don't think a better team could have come up and won this final. So I just want to say congrats to the Barbados Pride team and everybody who would have contributed to this.
After a slow start, Holder blasted 69 of 47 balls to bring his side back into the game. He added a match-winning sixth wicket stand of 127 with Shea Hope, who made 101 of 98 balls with 5 fours and 5 sixes.
One thing I went to the bat with Shea, I think it was important for us to get a partnership. You know, I just needed to be positive as well. There's no point me going out there and trying to soak up balls and, you know, put the pressure really back on us. You know, it's a period where I had to consolidate a bit, but I still had to remain positive. And it was important. I kept, you know, instilling confidence in Shea and made it easier for him by rotating the strike. You know, I was able to do that, and then at the end I was able to also the launch. But again, Shea Hope was absolutely outstanding. You know, and he must be given credit for the way he's played in this tournament. He didn't have the best of starts, but he finished the back end in the most important end of the tournament extremely well, and credit to him.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Get your paper, get your paper. Only 225, 220. Who? For what? That's Bear Stale News. I don't read about that on Barbados Today since last night. That can't only can't do. 220. Who?
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
It's the celebration of agriculture, 50 years and beyond. Come and experience this year's AgroFest exhibition at the historic Queen's Park on February 24th to 26th.
Box offices: Barbados Agricultural Society, Roberts Manufacturing Feed Store, Clear Vision Optical, Massey Stores Barbados Limited, Worthing, Sunset Crest, Oystons, and Sky Mall. Massey Stores Home, Sheraton and Pierhead, Cape Shepherd Broad Street, Water World Pet Shop, Jordan's Complex Spikestown, Ticket Centre, Massey Supercentre Warrings. Be there.
We're back now with news from the region. The international ratings agency Moody's says Cayman Islands' ratings outlook remains stable and has affirmed the British territory's AA3 government bond and issuer rating. Moody's says the action reflects a combination of a comparatively low and falling government debt burden and a high per capita income, which mitigates the risks from a small, narrow economy susceptible to weather-related shocks. Moody's also attributed the rating to a strong institutional framework, broad consensus on macroeconomic policies, and fiscal oversight by the United Kingdom. On the international scene, government forces in Iraq have seized several villages as they move towards an assault on the last area held by the Islamic State in Mosul. Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi announced the offensive early on Sunday. Hundreds of military vehicles rolled across the desert towards ISIS positions. There have also been fears about the safety of thousands of trapped civilians there. And that's the news this morning. Remember, you can get more on our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're on Izumi Media in bus terminals and Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. Or you can tune in to Channel 99 on Flow TV or Mix 96.9 FM for more news and sports. I am Mary Claire Williams. Have a good morning.